Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Friday, August 2nd edition of the MMAOB Daily podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin. I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. Guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAdamMartin. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com and on our YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also, check me out at bjpen.com and MMARings.net. So today will be a pretty good show. Got a bunch of fight announcements to get to, so I'll get to those right away. But first thing I want to say is Google Hangouts is no more. There are no more Hangouts on air, so I'm using the YouTube webcam for the first time. So this should be interesting. We'll see how it goes. I know I'm not the only person with this issue. I've already talked about it yesterday. A lot of bloggers and vloggers, I should say, are having the same issue right now that they ended the Google Hands on Air, which was a great way to speak to people and do podcasts. So we'll see how it goes, but so far so good. So far no issues. I'll see how it goes, and if not, there's definitely some other third-party apps I can use starting next week. So we'll see how it goes today, but let's get right into it. So like I said, a bunch of fight announcements today. First one I want to talk about, UFC Moscow has a main event. It will be a great heavyweight fight here between Junior Santos and Alexander Volkov. Love this matchup. Great fight. Two of the best guys in the world for sure. Junior Santos, of course, coming off of just a brutal knockout loss to Francis Ngannou back in June, so not too long ago. Before that, he had won 3 straight fights, though. He beat Derrick Lewis and tied Dubasa by KO and also beat Blagoy Ivanov. JDS is 35 years old now. He's still one of the best in the world, in my opinion, but definitely not maybe not an elite guy anymore like he once was. Still a top 10 guy, though. I mean, that division, anything can happen. Guys get knocked out all the time and then become a contender again. Same with Volkov. Same thing with him. He had a 6-fight win streak snapped against Derrick Lewis in his last fight, getting knocked out with 11 seconds left in the fight. Before that, had beaten Fabricio Verdum, Stefan Struve, Roy Nelson, and Timothy Johnson in the UFC. Former Bellator champion, of course, got a great record. This is going to be a great fight. Very hard to pick this one because both guys have a lot of knockout power. Both guys are huge. Go either way. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely a good fight. Next up, we have another heavyweight bout. I already mentioned him, Derrick Lewis. He's going to be returning to fight Blagoy Ivanov, another guy I just mentioned, at UFC 244. So we'll see how this fight goes. Derrick Lewis, he is 21-7-1. He's coming off a 2-fight losing streak, though, against JDS and Daniel Cormier. Before that, he had won 3 straight fights, including wins over Volkov and Ngannou and Tybura. He's definitely a great fighter, too. A lot of KO power, as we all know. Taking on, like I said, Blagoy Ivanov. So we pull up Blagoy. Blagoy Ivanov is 18-2-1 no contest. He's coming off a 2-fight win streak, actually. He beat Tai Dubasa at UFC 238. Also beat Ben Rothwell earlier this year by decision. And he lost to Junior Santos. We know how tough he is. Very tough guy. He can go the full 3 rounds. However, he just hasn't shown that finishing power, which I'd like to see in the UFC so far. But still a very good fighter, former WSOF heavyweight champion and PFL heavyweight champion. So another fight can go either way. I mean, heavyweight fights, as we know, can go either way. So we'll see what happens in this one. But I kind of lean towards Derrick Lewis, though. I think he will get back in the win column in this one. But again, heavyweight fights, you never know. You can never be too confident. Like I said, bunch of fight announcements today. Let's keep them going. UFC 242, that's the Khabib Poirier card. Adam Yandiev will be fighting Punahele Soriano. Adam Yandiev, he is 9-1 in his career. He has only fought once in the UFC, was submitted by Jordan Johnson. Prior to that, had won all 9 of his professional fights by stoppage. So kind of an interesting prospect. Definitely did not look good against Jordan Johnson, but Jordan Johnson, especially at that time, was a really, really good prospect. And he's going to be taking on Punahele Soriano, who, of course, got the contract from the Contender Series. Punahele, 6-0 in his career, beat Jamie Pickett on the Contender Series by decision. Before that, had won all 5 of his pro fights by stoppage. I was a little surprised he got signed because, honestly, I wasn't that impressed with this performance that night. And again, it's the same card where I believe, yes, Brendan Lofton got robbed and didn't get a contract. It's funny, all the other fighters on that card got a contract except for Lofton. All the other winners, I should say. So I don't know why. Anyways, we've talked about that enough, but I don't know why Dana White kept passing on him. Anyways, as far as this fight goes, I think you got to lead towards Punahele, though. I think the UFC likes him. They're giving him what I believe is a favorable matchup here against the guy who's probably overmatched. So we'll see how this fight goes, but I would favor Punahele. Next up, we have UFC China has a couple fights, I should say injury replacements here. So Mizuki Inoue is actually going to be making her debut, and she'll be taking on Wu Yanan. So that should be an interesting fight. I really like Inoue. She's someone that I believe should have been in the UFC for a little while now. She's 13-5 in her career. She just beat Vivian Pereira in Invicta. She's fought a lot in Invicta, a lot in Jewels, a lot in Deep. So she's got a lot of experience against fighters like Beck Rawlings. She's beaten Amy Fujino. So she's got some good experience. Alex Chambers as well. Taking on Wu Yanan. And Wu is, what's Wu here? 10-2 in her career. She's coming off actually a submission win over Laura Muir. She was a big underdog in that fight, and she lost to Gina Mazzini before that. Also lost to Yana Kunitskaya, excuse me. She was supposed to fight Luana Carolina, but Luana apparently had some spine injury, which is obviously not good. So this is a short notice fight for Inoue. Having said that, I still like her here. I think she's a really, really good fighter, and she should have been in the UFC a long time ago. So good for her. Next up, another fight at UFC China. Da and Jung will be taking on Jamahal Hill, who again is fighting on short notice for Saperbek Safarov. So Da and Jung, I don't know too much about this guy. He's making his debut on the China card. 10-2 record out of South Korea. He's on a 9-fight win streak, I believe. Yes, 9 fights, all the wins by stoppage, bunch of wins by knockout and heat. He actually has a win over some guy named Hulk Hope, which is hilarious. And taking on Jamahal Hill, another guy from the Contender Series, who really looked good, I think, on the Contender Series. Jamahal Hill, Sweet Dreams, they call him. He is 6-0 in his career. His last 2 wins are by stoppage, before that by decision. He also has a win over Daquan Townsend, who just fought in the UFC as well, and just beat Alexander Popek via stoppage on the Contender Series actually last week. So I think this guy is definitely good. A lot of talent, a lot of potential here. He probably wins this fight. Next up, Andrew Sanchez versus Marvin Vettori, another injury replacement. Marvin Vettori is replacing an injured David Branch. So Marvin Vettori, he just came back after a long layoff due to USADA, and he beat Cesar Ferreira via decision. He, before that, had actually lost a split decision against Israel Adesanya, which, looking back now, is not a bad split decision loss. He's 3-2-1 in his UFC career. He's a promising young prospect for sure, 25 years old, so got a lot of potential here. And then Andrew Sanchez, 31 years old. He's 11-4 in his career. He's 4-2 in the UFC, coming off back-to-back wins over Marc-Andre Barrera and Marcus Perez. I think this is a really good matchup, actually, for Vettori. I think he's just a better fighter, and he should be able to stuff Andrew Sanchez's takedowns. And even if they fight against the fence, I think Vettori can get the better of him. So I like Vettori a lot. It's not really that much short notice. He's going to have like 5 or 6 weeks to train for this fight. So he should be good to go. And he just fought recently as well. So I like Vettori quite a bit in this one. Next up, also at UFC Vancouver, Brad Katona will be taking on Hunter Azure, another guy that was on the Contender Series. Brad Katona, 8-1 record. He is 2-1 in the UFC. Recently lost a unanimous decision against Merab Dvalishvili. Also beat Jay Cusinello and Matthew Lopez in the UFC. Beating Cusinello won him the Ultimate Fighter 27 title. Definitely a good fighter, but the fight against Merab showed that he does have some weaknesses in his takedown defense. And he's taking on a really good wrestler here, Hunter Azure, who looked really good in the Contender Series. Didn't get the finish. Hunter Azure 7-0. Did not get the finish on the show, but still beat Chris Ocon, who's a good young prospect, and he pretty much smothered him for 3 rounds. I think Azure wins this fight. This is kind of a bad matchup, I think, for Katona, and I don't know why the UFC booked him. It's in Canada, so you think they would want to get this kid back on the winning ways, but he's fighting a tough dude here. He's a really good wrestler, so tough matchup for Katona, I think. I think Azure probably wins, and we'll see what the line is for that. If he's anything like small, I think definitely take a shot on him, because I think he's going to have, I think, a huge advantage in the wrestling, especially if he gets the fight to the ground. He should be able to hang on top control for a while, but I'll break that fight down later in September when that fight happens. Finally, a women's flyweight bout between Ariane Lipski and Priscila Cachoeira will take place at UFC Sao Paulo. I believe this is the first fight announced for that card. That is November 16th, if I'm not mistaken, in Sao Paulo. So Ariane Lipski, she's been nothing but a disappointment in the UFC. I don't know what's going on with her. She does not look good in the UFC. She came into the UFC with so much potential. And since coming here to the Octagon, she's 0-2 with losses to Molly McCann and Joanne Calderwood. And I believe she was a favorite in both those fights. So that is not good. Taking on Priscila Cachoeira, who also has struggled in the UFC, to be fair. But look who she's lost to. Okay, first off, Valentina Shevchenko, and that was a beatdown of the year, and that's a tough fight. And then since she's come back, she's lost to Molly McCann and Luana Carolina, but they were pretty competitive fights. And she's very, very durable, very tough. She's always coming forward. I was at the fight with Luana Carolina. Man, that was a good fight. Great fight, actually. If you guys haven't seen that one, go back and watch. That was one of the best fights at UFC 237. I think the UFC wants Lipski get a fight. And stylistically, it's a good matchup because Cachoeira, someone's going to stand there and trade with her. But man, Lipski's just such a disappointment. You can't trust her with your money. So I personally would not bet on Lipski here, even though I do like the matchup for her. But I also like the other matchups for her, and she lost them too. So she's kind of a flake so far, unfortunately. I do think she's got potential, but I don't know what happened to the KSW version of what we saw with her. So I still favor Lipski, but I don't think you can completely sleep on Cachoeira. That's it for fight announcements. As far as like news goes, there wasn't too much. Demetrius Johnson did fight this morning, and he did pick up a win, so he'll be fighting in the finals of that tournament. Good for him. Good for Demetrius. Won a unanimous decision over that Wada guy. What else here? Scott Coker was critical of the UFC. This is worth mentioning. He talked a little bit of smack, I guess, towards Dana White just for the way they're doing the international cards. He believes they're not doing the international events the right way. Bellator obviously has a much more, I think, stronger commitment to the international cards. Like they've set aside so many events for England or whatever. So that's fair criticism. I mean, UFC is definitely the best organization in the world and the biggest for sure. But I think there's some stuff Bellator does well. Although one thing they don't do well is the way they have their events on tape delay and the way they have their events available only for certain people on the app or on DAZN or Paramount. It's very confusing sometimes to watch Bellator events. So that's something you have to work on. And every time there's a post-fight press conference, I want to ask Scott Coker, and he just never has an answer for that. So I don't know what's going on, but I think that definitely hurts Bellator. Although they do have a strong commitment, like I said, to the international scene. What else? Misha Tate was in the news a little bit. I don't even know if it's worth mentioning, but she thinks that the Cyborg Dana White video, which I talked about yesterday, was edited in a way to make Dana look bad and Cyborg look good. I don't know. Is she trying to angle for a fight with Cyborg? I don't think that's a good idea if that's the case. Francis Ngannou, he was in the news, or excuse me, Greg Hardy was in the news saying Francis Ngannou is not a good athlete. I mean, again, is he angling for a fight? I don't think he wants that fight. Ngannou, I think, destroys Greg Hardy at this point of his career. Even in a couple of years, probably still beats him. So not sure why he's talking so much smack about him, but I guess he's just trying to plant the seeds for a future fight. That's pretty much it, guys. There wasn't a ton. The UFC Newark weigh-ins just took place. I'm just going to double check that. I don't think anyone missed weight. From what I'm seeing, yeah. So far, everyone's made weight from what I'm seeing, so that's good, including all the short notice guys. There's a few guys that haven't weighed in yet, but for the most part, everyone's on weight for tomorrow. So that card's going to be pretty good. That'll be tomorrow afternoon. Myself and Cole Shelton did a breakdown show on Tuesday, so go back and check that out, guys. It was a really good show. That was on the old Google Hangout format. So again, I don't really know how it's going to work going forward, bringing Cole on the show. There's got to be another way to do this. Like I was reading about a couple other, like I said, third-party apps to do a podcast with someone else. So we'll see what happens. I think everything should be okay, but definitely going to be some learning curve here for sure because they got rid of Google Hangouts, which I'm not sure why. I really don't get it. It was a great tool for a lot of people, including guys like myself. James does a good job with it too. So very strange they got rid of it, but it is what it is. And, they kept saying, the end of the year, we'll get rid of it. They got rid of it in August. So we'll figure it out, guys. But for now, the YouTube webcam's not too bad. So once again, guys, I appreciate you tuning in today to the show. Follow me on Twitter, guys, at MMAOB. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. Also check me out at bjpen.com and mmarings.net. Guys, have a great weekend. UFC Newark tomorrow. Enjoy the card. I'll talk to you guys Monday to break down whatever happens this weekend in the world of MMA. Have a good weekend, guys. See ya.